The story of Christianity begins in obscurity, a small sect emerging from the bustling heart of the Roman Empire. Amidst the grandeur and chaos of ancient Rome, a new faith quietly took root. In the shadow of the mighty Roman gods, these early Christians preached a message of love, forgiveness, and the worship of a single God. Their teachings stood in stark contrast to the prevailing religious practices of the time. This monotheistic belief system ran counter to the polytheistic Roman society, creating suspicion and distrust amongst the Roman authorities. The Romans, who prided themselves on their pantheon of gods, saw this new faith as a potential threat. Roman officials viewed Christianity as, a threat to their authority in the traditional Roman way of life. They feared that the growing influence of this new religion could undermine the social and political order. Christians refused to participate in the traditional Roman rituals and sacrifices, which were seen as essential to maintaining the Pax Romana, the peace and stability of the empire. This refusal was not just a religious stance, but a political one as well. This refusal was interpreted as a direct challenge to Roman power and sparked waves of persecution against these early followers of Christ. The Roman authorities sought to stamp out what they saw as a dangerous and subversive movement. These persecutions varied in intensity across different regions and emperors. Some rulers were more tolerant, while others were relentless in their efforts to eradicate Christianity. Sometimes Christians faced local harassment, social ostracism, and confiscation of property. Their homes and belongings were often seized, leaving them destitute and vulnerable. At other times, they endured brutal torture and public executions, often in gruesome spectacles designed to deter others from joining their ranks. These public displays of cruelty were meant to serve as a warning to anyone considering conversion. Yet despite these hardships, Christianity continued to spread, its message resonating with the poor, the marginalized, and those seeking a new spiritual path. The promise of salvation and a community of support drew many to the faith. The early Christians found solace and strength in their shared faith. Their gatherings, though often secret, were filled with a sense of hope and solidarity. They met in secret, often in underground catacombs, to avoid detection. These hidden places became sanctuaries where they could worship freely and support one another. These hidden gatherings became vital spaces for worship, fellowship, and mutual support. In these dark, quiet places, the early Christians forged strong bonds and deepened their faith. The very act of persecution seemed to strengthen their resolve, their faith deepening in the face of adversity. Each trial and tribulation only served to solidify their commitment to their beliefs. This early period of persecution would leave an indelible mark on the Christian identity, shaping its character and fueling its eventual rise to prominence. The resilience and dedication of these early Christians laid the foundation for a faith that would eventually spread across the globe. To understand the Roman response to Christianity, one must delve into the fabric of Roman society itself. The Romans were a deeply traditional people with a rich tapestry of customs and beliefs that had been woven over centuries. Religion in Rome was not merely a matter of personal belief. It was deeply intertwined with politics, social order, and the very identity of the empire. The gods were seen as protectors of the state, and their favor was essential for the prosperity and stability of Rome. The Roman pantheon, a diverse collection of gods and goddesses, played a central role in public life. Each deity had its own domain, and their worship was integrated into the daily routines and major events of Roman citizens. Roman emperors themselves were often deified, their authority seen as divinely ordained. This divine status reinforced their power and justified their rule, making any challenge to their authority a challenge to the gods themselves. This fusion of religion and politics meant that any challenge to the traditional Roman gods was perceived as a threat to the stability of the empire. The state and the divine were inseparable, and maintaining the favor of the gods was seen as crucial to the empire's survival. Christians, with their unwavering belief in one God and their refusal to acknowledge the divinity of the emperor, directly challenged this established order. Their monotheism was seen as a rejection of the Roman way of life and a direct affront to the gods. Moreover, Christian teachings emphasized humility, compassion, and love for one's neighbor, even enemies. These values were revolutionary in a society that prized strength, honor, and the pursuit of personal glory. This message stood in stark contrast to the often brutal realities of Roman society, where military might, social hierarchy, and the pursuit of power and glory were highly valued. The gladiatorial games, for instance, celebrated violence and conquest, which were antithetical to Christian teachings. The Christian emphasis on peace and forgiveness challenged the very foundations of Roman military dominance, which relied on the projection of power and the subjugation of conquered peoples. This pacifist stance was seen as a threat to the martial spirit that had built the empire. Furthermore, Christianity's message of equality, regardless of social status or ethnicity, undermined the rigid social structure of the Roman world. The idea that all people were equal in the eyes of God was revolutionary and subversive. Slaves, women, and the poor found solace and dignity in the eyes of the Christian God, a stark contrast to their marginalized position within Roman society. This newfound sense of worth and community was empowering for the oppressed. This message of radical inclusivity, while offering hope to the downtrodden, threatened to disrupt the established social order that kept the Roman elite in power. The ruling class saw this as a direct challenge to their authority and the societal norms that maintained their dominance. The year 312 AD marked a pivotal turning point in the history of Christianity, a moment that would echo through the centuries. Constantine, a Roman general vying for control of the Western Roman Empire, faced a formidable opponent in Maxentius at the Battle of the Milvian Bridge. This confrontation was not just a clash of armies, but a battle of ideologies and destinies. The outcome of this battle would determine the fate of the empire and, as legend has it, the future of Christianity itself. The stakes were incredibly high and the tension palpable. On the eve of the battle, Constantine reportedly experienced a vision, a moment that would forever alter his path and the course of history. He saw a cross emblazoned across the sky, accompanied by the words, "In hoc signo vinces," "In this sign you will conquer." This vision was both awe-inspiring and deeply unsettling. Interpreting this vision as a divine message, Constantine ordered his soldiers to adorn their shields with the Chi Rho symbol, the first two letters of Christ's name in Greek. This act was a bold declaration of faith and a strategic move. The following day, Constantine's forces emerged victorious, routing Maxentius's army and securing his claim to the throne. This victory was not just a military triumph, but a spiritual one as well. While historians debate the veracity of the vision and the extent to which Constantine had already embraced Christianity at this point, the Battle of the Milvian Bridge undeniably marked a shift in Roman policy towards Christians. It was a watershed moment that would lead to profound changes. Constantine attributed his victory to the Christian God, viewing it as a sign of divine favor. This belief would shape his reign and influence his decisions. This newfound belief, whether genuine or politically expedient, led him to enact a series of reforms that dramatically altered the trajectory of Christianity. These reforms laid the foundation for the religion's spread and institutionalization within the Roman Empire. In 313 AD, Constantine, now the undisputed ruler of the Western Roman Empire, issued the Edict of Milan, a landmark decree that would forever change the landscape for Christians within the Roman world. This edict proclaimed religious tolerance throughout the empire, granting Christians and followers of all faiths the right to practice their beliefs without fear of persecution. The Edict of Milan marked a radical departure from the previous centuries of persecution and ushered in a new era for the Christian faith. No longer forced to worship in the shadows, Christians could now openly practice their faith, build churches, and spread their message without fear of reprisal. This newfound freedom allowed Christianity to flourish, its ranks swelling as people from all walks of life flocked to its message of hope and salvation. Constantine's support for Christianity extended beyond mere toleration. He actively promoted the faith, using his imperial authority and resources to bolster its growth. He returned confiscated property to the church, exempted clergy from certain taxes, and even funded the construction of grand basilicas, transforming the physical and social landscape of Roman cities. This imperial patronage elevated the status of Christianity, shifting it from a persecuted sect to a favored religion within a few short decades.